You got it?
You got
Is
it.
that everything? Okay. Well, welcome back, gentlemen. This is really kind of cool.
All right.
I love it that you do know that this is for, not just for posterity, but at the end of the day, if it works out well, we're sending it to Channel 2.
Channel 2, though.
Okay, yes, as a part of their investigative unit. Things to look at.
This goes to the bottom.
I'm gonna assist on Fox News.
Channel 2 is fine. Channel 2 is
We know your politics already.
Well, who wants to start here?
Tell me about the wedding.
On my wedding? Well, in 1988, 1985 I got divorced, and that's when I started living at the club here. My wife, ex-wife, got the house that I had, and I moved into my boat on Hagelin. Well, it was behind someone's house in Paradise Cay, so I had to move the boat from Paradise Cay to, I got berth in the club here. Some friends felt sorry for me and let me in and happened to have a berth there. So that's why I was around the club quite a bit from 1985 to 1988, 99. And I met a nice lady, and after taking her out sailing on my boat, we got married in 1988. And we got married in the club upstairs, wedding and the reception. The wedding was, I think I had about 75, 80 people. Got all chairs around, and we got a local preacher, a little strange guy, Frank, from the CCC church, who later got arrested but dismissed from his preaching for chasing after his parishioners too much, his women parishioners. But anyway, he did a fine job, and then we had a reception here.
What was our policy then at that time as a member? Did you pay a small fee for the room, or what? Was there any sort of?
Yeah, we paid a small fee and a cleanup fee,
Mm-hmm.
and then the caterer, paid for the catering.
Right.
And but I was pretty lucky. They had a wedding before, so they left the flowers and things up from the other wedding, so we didn't have to redecorate the place or anything.
So you piggybacked off of someone else's wedding expense.
Yeah, very nice wedding that somebody had. So we were lucky on that point. They didn't clean up after the other wedding, so waited a day.
So this is the second round. Let's hear the good stuff.
Well, the good stuff was we took the boat and went up to Delta for our honeymoon and got back. But after that, before that, I guess, I took a boat to Hawaii, and one of the members asked me to take his son's boat to Hawaii, a little power boat, which was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life.
You took a powerboat to Hawaii?
Yeah, a little 43 foot.
I could have told you that.
Single engine fishing boat. Gordon Noble, member here.
Okay.
He says, "Oh, would you mind? He'd be interested in doing this." So I said, at that time it was about 1987, 86. I didn't really care either way if I lived or died, so I just said, "Okay, sure, I'll take it." So we went to San Diego. We paid the way. We took a look at it. Didn't think much of the boat, but I said I'd do it, so we just got it together, and it carried about 1,000 gallons of fuel, so we needed another 1,000 gallons to get to Hawaii. So it had a fish tank on the deck, bait tank. It was a tuna boat. Filled that up with fuel. We had 10-ton deck hold, fish hold, filled that out with 55-gallon drums of fuel.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty soon the boat's down pretty low in the water, we got it full of fuel. Oh, we also had some bladders on deck. So. Anyway, we took off the first time, and we got about half a day out, and the engine quit. So, got that back running again and came back to San Diego. And then took it, anyways, the long and short of it is, we got about, my friend Monty was supposed to go with me, but he told me he was gonna quit drinking and smoking on the way over to Hawaii. I said, no way, not with me. So I ended up getting somebody else, somebody I hardly knew. And anyway, we were about 10 days out, and we discovered the fuel tanks had broken. And we had a bunch of fuel in the bilge, but unfortunately the fuel tank didn't burn. I mean, the bilge pump didn't go off in the aft compartment, so we had some fuel and water mixed together. So Coast Guard, we got the owner. Anyway, they dropped the Coast Guard fluid. They wouldn't drop you fuel, but they would drop us pumps and fuel filters.
Diesel or?
It was diesel, yeah. But they wouldn't drop us any fuel. We had to try to filter the water out of the fuel. Yeah. But anyway, that wasn't working too well. So we, Coast Guard said, well, they had a ship about 2 days, or what did they say, 4 days away. Sit there and wait. They wouldn't come, but actually I asked them ahead of time. I said, well, look, you guys take off now, and we keep going, and we'll meet halfway, and be fine. You know. But they wouldn't do that, so. Anyway, we finally said we'd just shut the engine down, because we were getting down pretty low on fuel. And sat there and started saying our prayers, pretty much. And we just happened to look over the horizon. Here's a little speck, a little tiny speck. Here comes a ship out of nowhere. And it was a Chinese ship. We'd never seen a ship the whole time. We've been out 10 days. Haven't seen anything. And things coming right at us. Almost going to run us over.
How far out are you?
Well, we were about 2 days from Hawaii. We were 10 days out. 8 days, 9 days out or something like that.
Yeah.
We had 2 more days to go.
Like 1,000 miles away from here.
Yeah, more than that. Yeah, more than halfway. More than about 3/4 of it.
Mhm.
Anyway, we got them to stop. Coast Guard told them they had to give us fuel, and so they didn't have any way of transferring except for 5-gallon buckets, open 5-gallon buckets. And we were down below over the side. There were literally 5-gallon buckets of fuel pouring down on us. We were trying to pour this stuff into these 55-gallon drums. My family couldn't, so we had an electric pump. We transferred it that way. They gave us 200 or 400 gallons, I guess. No, 250 gallons of fuel.
And 5 gallons at a time.
5 gallons at a time.
Wow.
So,
Well, you didn't have anything else to do.
no, yeah. Anyway, we got going. And turned the fuel they had wasn't really diesel. It was, they call it modern fuel, modern diesel. They call it. It was black. But I tried it in the engine ran. So I wasn't gonna argue with them about it. I took it, and it was running. So we got off and made it to Hawaii. And, Gordon had a hell of, it was a bad, the boat, the surveyor who surveyed it just did a terrible job. The tanks were all gone, and the boat was flexing so much. I was sitting down below, I couldn't believe it, sitting on the bottom of the boat, and the thing's flexing up and down. Holy man,
You're pretty lucky.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
I said, oh yeah, I'm really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that had nothing to do with the cranking, that was just me. But one of the members here.
Well, we do have some daredevils. George, it looks like you brought some.
I got some notes here, but I forget a lot of things, so you gotta
Take your
bear
time.
with me.
Absolutely.
Take your time. Take your time.
Absolutely.
We got lots of film. Don't worry about it.
Oh, he's old.
Okay?
Memories.
Yeah.
Well, I joined the club in 1962, and the club was on reconstruction. So, to get approved for membership, we had to go upstairs from, it was a drugstore and soda fountain at that time instead of Tommy's Joint. So we had the meeting up there, a standard regular meeting. And then from there, the club originally had a metal fence across the entrance to the club here. And it was ended up on the grass along the side. And so I can remember stories that I heard from some of the fellas of everybody's wondering how the flag got here and everything. So I got this picture of the immigration depot at an early date, and from what I was heard or what I was told, that this flagpole here is a flagpole that we have now, and the woodwork here for the dock is the deck that we have, the boat deck.
Oh.
That's what I understand.
Stolen property?
Pardon?
Stolen property?
No, that's when they remodeled.
Okay.
Or they started to, I guess, tear down some of the building over there in the immigration place.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So.
This is the immigration place on Angel Island.
On Angel Island,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Chinese immigration.
Right.
So, that's what I believe. I can't prove anything, but,
May I show you the camera?
sure. That's a picture of the center. And so, and then as far as the fellow that owned the fellow that owned the drugstore there, his name was Gratnick, and then we had a wonderful secretary by the name of Ethel, a little heavy-set woman, and originally she was Gratnick's bookkeeper and so forth, and Gratnick ended up with the drugstore in Tiburon here. So Ethel did most of the work as secretary and manager. She was the only one that basically took care of the club at that time. So.
Was she still doing that when you were Commodore?
Yeah. Yes. In fact, what we used to do, Bob Bain and I would drop by after work all the time and sign the checks because we were running on a basic pay-as-you-go setup in those
Right.
days. So she was great. Mostly took care of everything. And then I got pictures that when I was about 1965 or something, I got pictures of Tiburon from the air.
Hmm.
Wow.
And it shows the club here. And it shows 1, 2, 3, 6 berths. And It shows no parking lot or anything. So I believe what happened was that they moved, one house there that was on the lot. They moved it over to,
Park Row.
no, they just moved it to where it is now.
Oh, there was one house they moved over, I thought.
Yeah, the house they moved
Made it a
over.
little more
How
room
are
for
they making
gate.
money
Yeah.
with 6 flips? It's crazy.
Yeah, okay, so then I guess what happened is that they had these connections with Angel Island, and so they got the lumber and built the walkway, that boat dock there, and they must have, when they started to build a harbor, they must have took the mud out of the harbor and made the
Breakwater?
made the parking lot.
Oh, the parking lot.
The parking lot, yeah. And then, like I say, the boat deck was made by this wood from Angel Island. And from there, I can I was port captain when when we had that big Alaskan storm, and it played hell with the docks here. And up in Simmerfell, I went up there and checked them out, and all the docks were floating around loose up there. The boats went over the
Tops of the pilings, yeah.
yeah.
Did we lose any boats? Did any boats sink?
Here?
Yeah.
No, but
Tide.
we had one time during my time, we had I guess it was a catamaran out here on a mooring, and he broke loose and ended up on the against the club. He took all his stuff out the best he could and put it on the dock there, and by the time he got wound up, I think half of the stuff disappeared somehow. So, what else?
When they built the parking lot, did they have a yard arm? Did you have issues of people who weren't members who wanted to park there, or how did?
When I was there, the fence was gone and anybody could park in there. The club was wide open. There was guys that they had boats here and they didn't even belong to the club. They're just here. And that was a lot of the small boats, mostly. You gotta remember they're all wooden boats in those days.
Right.
And they were 18 or 20 footers. They're all on the dock here, and they're using the hoist. We used to have 3 hoists at one time. One of them was just a small hoist for the skiffs, where that white box is there. And then the next hoist, the big hoist we have now, was replaced because that was a dangerous hoist we had before, because when it swings open, it had a metal stop, and if you got caught between the swing of the boom and this metal stop, you lost a leg. So I guess that's how they got the new hoist. I wasn't
And
here.
they just had a line to pull it around.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my friend Monty here, he pulled
You
my,
remember the old one, huh?
oh yeah, he pulled it around. Had my 210 there, and he borrowed my
Yeah.
boat instead of his boat. He pulled the hoist out. He just threw it out, and then the thing came around back by itself, knocked my mast and broke the mast in half.
No, no.
And then we had another hoist down where you almost enter the club. I guess that's between C and D line, and we had a hoist there. But for some, we used that a lot for the small boats, because the small boats used to come over here a lot when they had their own, were putting on a race for a certain class or something. Why the cars would come in and they'd bring their boats in and they'd stack up the trailers in the parking lot and we had two hoists then, and so it was real good. Everybody gets in the boat in the water faster.
Okay.
So
And they also used to have a F dock.
yeah. What's his name did it? Set it up. The
Yeah.
harbor master.
Can't remember his name, but he,
Yeah.
but that
Okay.
silted in pretty fast.
Yeah, just silted in, and so they tore that one down and they put in G line.
Yeah.
That's when they put in G line. So
When was this, George? When did they put in G line?
G line,
Mid 70s, I guess.
yeah. Well, that was put in right after the one that got removed. So because they had to, I guess the harbor company had to furnish the fellas with berths when
Right.
they eliminated G.
Yeah, they owned the birds. So
Yeah. So that's why they built that one.
At some point, given the fact that there were boats in our harbor here that had nothing to do with the Corinthian, did someone take it upon themselves to finally enforce that? And
Well, at that time, the harbor belonged to a group of Corinthians. And when they first put in the berths, all the berths weren't filled up by Corinthians, so they had to go out and they got private people to invest in some of the berths. So I don't know too much about what was happening because it was controlled by a group of Corinthians that ran the harbor.
John, do you have some recollections that we didn't hear about during our first conversation a few weeks ago?
Well, I got familiar with the Corinthian, cause I kept a boat in the main basin over Herb's place, the man's yard, and used to sail. I had that time, I guess I was 13, 14, 15, and we used to sail around, come over here, and used to tie up at the Uncle Milty's fishing pier, where his ferry boat is tied up right now. And he'd let me have, because they didn't have the harbor here at that particular time, and what little space that was left was for the members. And so Uncle Milty, I can't call him, we all call him Uncle Milty. What was his last name?
Donahue.
McDonough.
McDonald,
Yeah,
yeah.
McDonough.
Yeah, McDonald. His dad was
daughter still
renting
driving the
rowboats to take him out there. And that's why they had space down there where I could tie up my boat. And I did, the old man, Donna, a hell of a nice guy. In fact, you know, he was nicer than old Uncle Milty. Uncle Milty was sort of a sourpuss. Nice guy, good guy. So he let me use this spot down there. And we'd come over to the club. And I still have a picture, if I could find it someplace, of our boat on sailing back. Because my friend and I that owned the boat with me, he used to live at the end of the island here, and he'd just walk home, and he took a picture of us, of me and another guy sailing back, going back over to, because he was up on top of the road there. I guess I joined the club when Herb told me one day that, hey John, I was out near where the Wanderer was being built by
Carl Sumner.
Al Summers, yeah. And he says, I'm gonna have to take your berth, I want to extend it, because we're getting a lot more larger boats coming in here. So I would advise you to get another berth. You can get the pick of what is available for you here, or you can get another place someplace else. So I said I came over here and joined the club at that time, and that was, I guess, in the late '60s or so. The late '60s. And fortunately, I bought the berth from.
Yeah,
That guy.
Come on, George, this is the second interview, you can say whatever
well,
you
for
And he
want.
was
Christ's sake,
one of
I know his name.
You don't get a third one, I
He
got
put
other
up the
things to do.
funding for 3 berths, and if I remember right, I think they were $3,000 bucks or $3,500 bucks. Was that it?
I don't know, that was.
Well, he ended up with 3 of them. I bought one of them. And in the late '60s, what years was it built? The Carver?
Probably 50. Yeah, late 50s, yeah, at least.
56 probably.
Yeah,
somewhere
around there.
Because,
Went from 3 to 16,000 because I paid 16,000 for the berth.
Wow.
It was an appreciation going up. And I had that for a good many years with my Farewell Clifford. I kept that boat down there. And so that was my entry into the club at that particular point in time. And we used to use it as a weekend cabin with my family and I. I was living in Palo Alto at the time. And we'd come up and spend the weekend. But most of my sailing was done outside. It was very seldom in the bay, only when I had my folks, my family, my kids. I had 2 kids at that time. My wife was a fair weather sailor. That meant all sun, no wind. She was a fair weather sailor. But other than that, most of my sailing was all up and down the coast. Now, when I had the berth over at Herb's, I used to crew, and this was several years before I had the Clipper. I used to crew for a French-Canadian. They had his boat built down at Alman Brothers. Alman Brothers had a small boatyard down there at the entrance to Hunters Point. And I made friends with him, and he asked me if I wanted to help crew him after he finished building the boat, and I said yes. So he kept it over also in the main basin over here in Herb's yard. It was a ketch, nice rig, and again, he did all the sailing outside. Paul McKay Stroud, do you remember him? Had a ketch there?
the guy you bought the berth from was Bob Bain.
Huh?
Bob Bain.
Bob Baines. Bob Baines, yeah.
Takes a little time to remember.
Yeah. Hell of a nice guy. And so we enjoyed the club tremendously. particularly because of the characters. There was more characters in this club than you could shake a stick at. But we enjoyed it, Harley.
Who was your favorite character?
I beg your pardon?
Who was your favorite character at the club at the time?
Oh, gee, I can name Bob Baines,
Roman,
Doc Romick.
Roman.
You like that?
Romick.
What made him stand out?
They were always fighting each other.
Tony Sousa.
Oh, yeah.
Al Monzon.
Oh,
DeMartini.
Yeah. Like fist
Charlie
fights or
Ray.
just talking?
Beg your pardon?
Fist fights or talking?
They're fights.
Like with the fist, not the talk.
Oh,
No, we didn't get into a fist fight.
no,
Sometimes.
they were good fun fights.
Okay,
verbal
all in
abuse.
fun. Okay.
Verbal abuse.
Monazan used to give us, everybody a bad time. He was
Okay.
kind of,
Too
in fact, I think he was married about 5 times. He was married the same woman 2 or 3 times.
He was Commodore though. He was.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this before, but at that time, did we have bartenders that also were sort of the glue that, you know, that you
Originally, we had
enjoyed?
our own bartenders.
It was,
Originally.
you did, at
Yeah,
that time,
we-
you volunteered.
Yeah, we had volunteer bartenders at that time. In fact, before they remodeled the club, they had a bar somewhere, I don't know whether it was near Namoon Alley out there, and you had your own booze, was labeled up on the racks there, and you just picked your own booze, and when with the bottles, they'd have a hatch on the floor there, and you drop the bottle through the hatch, and it'd end up on the beach.
That's just somebody was just talking about the dredge picking up all those bottles.
Yeah. It was a different form of recycling in those days.
Yeah, well, it's the bay's full of all that recycling from batteries
Right.
to everything.
Right.
Well, I can remember the time when they dredged berths in here, and they came up on the guest berth, you know, and they went, and they picked up a couple of old engine blocks. That evidently they changed, the guys changed their engines, and they just dumped the old engine overboard.
Well, that's what they use for moorings a lot of times.
Moorings, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
engine blocks.
Uh,
No, yeah, that's right, we used to have a big area here for moorings. We had, geez, maybe about 30
Moorings, yeah.
30 moorings out here, and when I guess when they built the club, when they built the harbor, they stopped using the moorings, except for guests sometimes.
Well, the club tried to put in rental moorings. They maintained their own moorings and rented them out for a long time. But then they stopped doing that because of the liability. And,
In those periods where the club wasn't as well off financially, did that impact things? I'm looking out the window right now at a dredge. Did that impact you being able to dredge the harbor? Did you have issues where it sort of created deferred maintenance later on?
well, the harbor company did their own dredging. I mean, they
Right.
maintained all that
They
before
did
the
all
club
that
took it
before
over.
we took it over.
It was all,
Right.
separate.
Right, right.
But I don't remember any particular problem with hard dredging it. It was all open.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we had that responsibility. I know there were issues. One thing we learned about was during those more difficult financial times, they created some bonds that members could invest in and get a rate of return, and then a certain number of bonds were retired each year. Are you guys familiar with that program?
Well,
No,
we started that,
I
I think,
think
when
they started to,
the,
somebody started something about buying into the club like.
that was for the catering company. First they started the catering
No, this,
Corinthian Catering
Catering,
started that.
right.
You could buy into, then they had
No, this is
started a
before,
separate
Al, I
thing.
think.
Before that, when they rebuilt the club, they offered their members on,
12 of us put up the money to start the catering company.
who did?
12.
12 guys.
12 guys, and they. but
Peter
then-
Holt was, I was one,
Yeah.
Shelley White,
oh, okay.
I go down the list, and it was pretty successful at the time. Until we found out, as I understand it, Elon, was it Elon, the first
Yeah,
one?
Elon.
He was a pro, and he was good. He was a Frenchman, excellent cook, very good food. But we found out that he was catering to his own little crowd,
Right.
and his own
Forget
little crowd was around Castro Street someplace, and he didn't last very long. He ended up in the Grapeland up there, and
Oh,
started another restaurant up there, and I understand did very successful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I know here he was just catering to the owners of the catering service.
Hmm.
The members weren't getting very good treatment.
Yeah, well, we treated good,
Now,
yeah.
you were as an owner, but the rest of the club wasn't getting treated very well.
Oh, yeah. No, this was just when they had the board meetings, when they,
Yeah.
Initially, was the catering created to just provide a service to the members, or was it started also as a means to make money?
make money
Make money for upstairs.
for the
Gotcha.
club.
Yeah.
Well, before that, we had a couple, a family from
Italian family.
what?
An Italian family were running.
No, this was a black guy
Oh, wow.
and his wife. They were Army, they were from the Army base.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they would come on Saturdays and Sundays, and they would put out hamburgers and ice cream cones and floats and soda, stuff like that. And then I remember that on Friday night, what happened, most of the people were not from Marin County. Most of the people were from San Francisco and Sacramento that belonged to the club. They didn't have many in Tiburon at that time.
Hmm.
That's right, there were quite a few from Sacramento.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so,
The dining room wasn't very busy.
I was going to ask, when the dining room, when you introduced that and that became another element, did that also have an impact of more involvement of the spouses coming in because you come in to have a dining experience, whereas initially when you guys joined, it was the boating aspect that attracted you. But did the
Well-
dining thing have an impact on and more husband and wife involvement, family involvement?
well, most of them, like I say, they came from Sacramento and San Francisco. So this was their weekend. They'd come over here and work on their boats and stay on their boats overnight and spend the weekend here. So on Fridays and Saturdays, we served pretty good dinners. And Sunday you'd get maybe one or two persons. And so it was a big problem keeping a cook and help. So you're paying a cook, and so the catering, the dining room business was a flop.
Yeah, lost money every time.
Yeah, and the bar was great.
That was the Holy Grail. That's where you made your money at the bar, I take it.
Right,
Yeah.
at the bar we made the money, and it covered our dining room, because the dining room was a bad situation. Only for a few members did we have that Sunday deal.
Well, a lot of the funds to maintain the club really came from an effort by a member here called Howard Folker, and he was a contractor. He was a damn good man, a hell of a guy, and he started what they called a Pelican, and it was all volunteer labor from the guys, the members here, and they were all chipped in. We must have had at least 24 guys that would continually come in, and through Howard's effort, he sort of took charge and directed all of the work, the underpinnings of the club, the steel beam, the full-length steel beam that's in the dining room now. That was because structurally, that floor, when they had a dance upstairs, was so fragile that it was like a springboard.
Right.
I tell you what hit me was when I was down there with my wife having dinner, when my daughter she got married up at the church up there, and then we had a reception down here, and a reception upstairs, and the music, unfortunately, they had a song that was a beat to it, and everybody that was dancing up there was quite a few people, all but the floor was loaded. And when my wife and I were eating down here, that damn, I ran out on the dam.
Yeah, it was covered down, huh?
I got the hell out of there, and I told Howard about it. Well, the next thing we knew, Howard had it all lined up put the I-beam, and full length on the bar. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember putting it down, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks to Howard to a lot of his efforts.
So he assembled a group of people, each of whom had certain skill sets, and that was a
Most
lot
of them didn't have any skill sets in the
He just
construction
organized.
ability.
He just organized.
Organized it and told you what to do.
No, he ran it.
So it was sort of a club within a club then, it sounds.
Beg your pardon?
It was a little bit of a club within a club.
Oh, you bet it was, yeah.
And did they get together socially as a group, the Pelicans?
No, not really. But it's a sidelight to that was Howard was spending so much time down here on the club and in that effort that one time he was late coming down, start to ramrod the guys to do what they're supposed to do to get the work done. And he didn't show up. It was about 4 hours later he shows up. We had Howard, where the hell you been? I say, we're waiting for you. He says, well, you know, Ernie, his wife, stole the keys from me. And I couldn't drive down there because she said I was spending too much time down there. And so I couldn't come down. So I stole the keys back after a while. So he came showed up that way.
We had the cooks and waiters, and in those days, we used to have about 200 people. In those days, they set up the main table, and then five rows of seats where we handled about 200 people, and we had a group workers for the cooks and waiters, and we'd have a Friday dinner put on by the cooks and waiters group, and then on Saturday was we shut down the club on Saturday and
Yeah,
Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
The weekend,
and,
when I joined it was like that, I liked it. It's a whole weekend.
yeah, whole weekend.
Spaghetti
And
feed Friday. Spaghetti feed Friday.
Saturdays was set up time to set all the tables up and the dishes and the way it should be. And Bob Thalman used to take a cord and hold it on one end and get the other guy on the other end, and everything would line up perfectly. For
Got to line up the silverware.
Yeah, and so then the cooks and waiters. Then I guess we had. I guess the Commodores old past Commodores were the head waiter at each table.
The carvers for the
carvers,
prime rib.
that's
When I
right.
first joined,
The
it was that
carvers,
way.
yeah.
Do you prefer that, or do you like the steaks? No. What do you like better?
Pardon?
Do you like having the carvers for the prime rib, or do you like getting a filet mignon? What do you prefer? What do you guys?
The way we carved it up.
Well, the thing is, if you didn't like the guy, you got a thin cut, and if you like the guy, you got a thick cut of prime
Well,
rib.
it all depended on we had two. There was two waiters for each table.
Yeah.
So well, it all
3
depended-
carvers at each end.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I first joined, I was that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
So
also dependent upon how many
Well,
drinks
the-
the guy who was doing the carving had.
Yeah.
well,
So
the
what?
guy at the head table was the carver,
Yeah.
and well, he'd carve it.
And he had to
put
be
it
a
on the
staff
plate.
he had to be a staff commodore
Yeah,
to be a carver.
yeah. So then, okay.
He
was the guy that cut the meat, and he
sanitizing
just
the
put it
effort.
on. The server would come in with a plate, and he'd put it on a plate, and put the potatoes on, and whatever else has to go.
I kind of
on
miss
there.
that. Maybe we should do that next year.
Huh?
You want to do that next year?
I can't even walk. For Christ's sake. No.
Well, you can come and sit down and get served.
Huh?
You can sit at the head table and they'll bring you some
What do you
food.
do now for a head? How many people do you get?
It's like 80, 90.
Oh, no, I can't come.
Why not?
Just tell your wife you're
Yeah.
going to a religious retreat.
Did,
Your wife has the ladies thing going on. Doesn't Mimi still have the ladies thing going?
She's gone.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Oh, she gave me a bad time.
was,
Poor girl.
was there the Commodore's Ball at that time, or did that come later?
Oh, we always had a Commodore's ball. Yeah. We had that.
So the 2 events of the year you would say would be the Commodore's Ball and Cooks and Waiters?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and then, I guess they had dinners for past Commodores. They would have that dinner,
Mm-hmm.
just for the board of directors and the past Commodores.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe that still happens now. I think they do it as a lunch now.
Is that a lunch now?
Yeah.
It's just staff commodores, as I
Yeah.
understand it.
Staff Commodores.
Just for a lunch?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think.
you get a ham and cheese sandwich.
It used to be a good deal before.
Is there anything that, you know, that represented to you the biggest change, you know, within the club? That you felt impacted, changed things, maybe in your opinion for the better or for the worse, but it was a change.
Well, previous to this year, I was taking care of my wife, so I didn't come down to the club for about 5 or 6 years.
Mm.
So I guess I can't tell you much, but yeah, big change,
Mhm.
big change.
Well, I think the recent changes are significant, and I'm glad to see it happen because things are moving. And things are getting done that should have been done a long time ago, but couldn't because of the limitation of money.
Mhm.
Just the start of putting that head down below is a very significant move.
Mhm.
And way overdue, to tell you the truth, yeah. But I can see it is significant based on the number of younger people, and of course, they're always going to the head.
Sure.
It's a start in the right direction, yeah.
Well, when we were having a remodeling, the Commodore and the contractor were always arguing because we were running out of money. We didn't have enough money to do this, so we'd eliminate that, and that's about how it went in those
Mhm.
days.
As you said earlier, you pay as you go,
So
so
as you go,
if you didn't have it to pay, you didn't go.
that's right.
Well, that was a big change is when we borrowed
We went to the outside and actually,
money, that was a big change.
Took some debt. yeah. Yeah,
before,
yeah.
it wasn't.
Obviously, for a club to keep going, maintain, one of the reasons why we're doing this is because we don't want to lose anything in the legacy of the club, and part of that is getting the history so that new people coming in will understand
Yeah.
sort of, how we got to where we are. What do you think about, you're probably noticing we're getting more members coming in that are younger,
Yeah,
family members and all of that. What do you think about that?
good. I think so. It has to happen. Otherwise, I think it was going to die eventually. You could see the direction in which it was going. If things didn't move, and you got to become overburdened. If you don't overburden yourself, you're not going to move. You're not going to grow.
We're not getting enough kids to sail.
Right.
Yeah, they should get out there.
Yeah.
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 So this is the annual meeting tonight. May I ask you guys, what's your most memorable annual meeting since you've been a member?
Well, this one particular one, we had a opposition ticket at that time. Now, help me out.
Which ticket, which time, which guy?
I'm trying to remember who that
Yeah.
was. I can't remember.
Well,
I got a little
his
deeper.
wife is vice commodore now.
Okay.
Canada.
Go
Canada, yeah.
Canada.
Yeah,
So they were opposing Canada? Or
There
he
was
was the
another,
alternate
there was
guy?
another fella, and,
I can't remember how it went.
Canada, what, you
I
remember?
don't know if they were opposing Canada or he was opposing them or something.
No,
Well, he ended up being Commodore, so.
Yeah, he ended up being Commodore.
Well, the incoming Commodore was Ed Kerwin.
Oh, that's
And the incoming Vice Commodore, whose name I'm blocking on, was the one that they did not like. And so there was an opposition ticket for the rear Commodore and the Vice Commodore to replace the one scheduled to go up the flag. And that was instigated by John Culver
Mhm,
and a couple of other of the people who controlled the club at that time.
mhm.
They informed Ed Kerwin that his Vice Commodore would be different than the one he'd been serving. Ed Kerwin essentially said, piss off, and resigned. He did not become Commodore. They ran around in circles trying to find somebody to become Commodore,
No.
and that became Bill Canada.
Yeah, well,
He
no,
was-
they were,
He was pushed in, he had not gone up the flag.
That's right.
They just made him the Commodore after Ed went down to his boat on the A line and refused to get off,
Yeah.
as it were, metaphorically. Right.
So he resigned the club,
No,
just
no,
resigned.
he resigned from
Flag.
the flag and spent the next 18 months fixing up his boat and took off and has never been back.
They came to my
And what
boat-
happened to,
Came up to my boat yard there.
Yeah.
and the people who were in the rotation as vice and rear commodores, they were removed as well? And
That's right.
so we had a whole new clean slate.
That's correct. That's correct. Completely political maneuver. Had nothing to do with whatever was good for the club.
No, but if I remember though, there was a vice commodore who was supposed to be rear commodore. Rear commodore was supposed to be vice commodore.
Right.
I can't remember his name either. He went up to
Talking about Jim Snow?
No.
No, this was much earlier. This is 1991.
what's your wife's name?
Connie
Last name?
Kerwin. She was married to Ed Kerwin. That's why I know this story.
Okay.
And the boat that he brought up to your yard was called
Yeah.
Constance.
Constance, right?
And he was so superstitious that they got divorced.
Yeah.
He got married to another woman. He took off to go around the world, but he's so superstitious he never changed the name of his boat. So Constance went around the world over the next 30 years. And, sorry, side story. didn't
I
mean
thought
to-
you were gonna say he traveled around the world to find another woman that he liked named Constance, so he wouldn't.
That would have been smart.
Now, Constance, your wife was on the boat then with him, when she was at the yard there, wasn't it? Or the other woman, I can't remember.
Well, maybe they got divorced in '91,
Yeah.
but
I
they
just
were
saw
both
her there.
sailors. They raced the boat. They had a different
I
one
remember
before
the 36.
Constance. And so they raced the bay, they did that sort of thing.
He had a 36-foot, Pearson 36.
Pearson, yes. And this one they bought in Texas and shipped it out.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to bring a personal point in here, and give credit to John Culver. If there's anybody that has done anything for this club, this guy, John Culver, and I know they'll agree with me, is one of the most significant members this club has ever had. And he contributed so much in depth, and
Look around you.
That's exactly right. You look at the floor up in the ballroom.
yeah.
He had that installed. Tishman Spires, the company he worked for, paid for it. And after it was installed, he waited 2 years and then told them that they paid for it.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't know that.
yeah, he did. So the walls here, the waste cutting, before he took charge of it, the dining room had, honest to God, red velour. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Red velour wallpaper, looked like a French house of
Bordello.
ill repute. It just, oh, it was really, and that's when they had the hole in the floor.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like
so
a French
They made the
whorehouse.
library. They had made the library before that too.
yeah, it just, you look around and a lot of that stuff he's had installed and built, and the entryway to the club. One of our members died, his wife wanted to do something, and John suggested, because we didn't have that, it was flat. He
Yeah.
said the portico, is that what you would call it?
Portico, yeah.
Yeah, he had it designed and built,
Yeah.
she paid for it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, the library, someone left money, then they
This-
had that all installed.
yeah, this was actually John's sort of library, he organized it
I know
originally.
somebody left money for that before he installed it, I'm pretty sure.
A measure of what you say, John, is that in every conversation that we've had of this nature, John's name has come up every time. So he certainly, he was in the woodwork.
He was significant, I can tell you.
Well, he negotiated, the club got money, everything we have in our current endowment
Yeah.
fund was money that came from Sam's and what was then the Swedish bakery.
39 Main.
Yeah, 39 Main, and this little house where the bank is. There were disputes anyway, that open parking space next to the bank was club land. And he negotiated the sale of that, he negotiated the sale from 39 Main, they wanted that beach and he gave them certain rights. And the dock at Sam's, we owned that, we owned the land under it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was John that negotiated that. The owner of Sam's home was now what's in the parking lot. And when he finished negotiating, the guy agreed to pick up his house and move it and gave us the land, which is now the parking lot, in exchange for the land where Sam now has its pier. Right? All of that was negotiations with attorneys, essentially, and law firms. And of course, John Culver was a high-end real estate executive and a very nasty person in business. So when he went after them, we ended up with $500,000 in the bank and a parking lot with a smoke cleared.
Yeah.
Well,
Unfortunately, not everybody agreed with what he did.
Oh no, that's because often he did it without telling anybody.
Yeah.
And let's not forget Johnny Wan. I'm sure Johnny's gonna go into his grave still thinking that he owns Half War Parking entrance.
So,
Do you remember Johnny? Well,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. You could,
talking about the parking lot entrance and all, we had a lawyer that was gonna straighten it all out. He took all the information, and we're all set to go to court. And we had the date set and everything to straighten out that area, and the judge got shot. Remember that?
Oh, no, was that for the San Quentin
Yeah.
escape?
Yeah, Judge Haley.
Yeah.
Judge Haley, yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
blew his.
okay,
Oh,
that was gonna straighten out the property lines.
I didn't know that.
What you're saying is
Wow.
the judge contributed.
Yeah, contributed to what?
To the confusion.
Involuntarily.
Yeah, yeah,
Holy.
Wow, so that just sidetracked everything,
yeah,
Yeah.
what
yeah.
you say. Anything else?
I'd like to say one thing, personal again, that, when I had my boatyard, I had a number of members coming to my yard in San Rafael that I really appreciate, that came to, my wife and I worked, well, John was one of them, but Culvers and a lot of NAR people that were here, Bob Thalman, a number of other people, Peter and Utah, a number of people, anyway. I just thank everybody that did that.
That's something that continues to come across. There's a loyalty to the club, and there seems to be a uniqueness to the friendship. Although, everyone has other interests and all of that, that there is a commonality and a pride associated with the club. And again, another reason why we have really made efforts to make the History and Artifacts Committee more vital again, and to do this stuff, because
So far as I know or remember, Sam's pier is partly on our property, right?
It is.
It is.
I was treasurer here before and I
Oh,
know
you
the
were?
deal. Yeah, and I built enough money so we could buy the head down there.
Did what?
I put enough money in the bank, I put 972 grand in the bank,
Ah,
so they could piss away 450,000.
Was that the
And
final
we're still
price?
fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the final, because you never know.
but we still
But
own
it's
it.
about, yes,
Okay.
and those bitches pay nothing.
Well, it's good to see the guys that are sort of taking over now.
Oh, don't
Are-
hurt me, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. There's not.
It's heartening. to see
That's
what's
a
happening.
very polite word.
Yeah, it really is.
It's disheartening is the most polite word I would have put on that.
Yeah,
I mean, we need people who know how to work hard and save money, and these.
yeah. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of personal work, time, and it's dedication. You can see in the guys. They're doing a good job. I think.
So, John, what's your favorite annual meeting?
I beg your pardon.
What's your favorite annual meeting?
Animal?
Annual
meeting.
Annual meeting.
Did anyone get in a
Annual
fist fight?
meeting. What's your
What?
favorite annual
Annual
meeting?
meeting. Tonight's the annual meeting. You guys gonna go?
Yeah.
So, you've been to a few, maybe. A few in the past annual
Yeah.
meetings. Tell me your favorite one, if you don't mind me to ask.
Of an event or what?
No, annual meeting.
Yeah.
With I want
the
to hear
best
about.
annual meeting?
Yeah, I want to hear about a
That you
fight.
like.
Well, I can't.
We gotta get him
I won't be able to tell
batteries.
until I get an A/B test.
No, but anyway, it's the annual meeting tonight. So you're going to go upstairs.
Yeah.
You'll get a free meal.
I don't think it's free.
A free drink I'll take.
They have free drinks too.
Okay.
Drinks is 6,
Oh,
meeting
okay.
is 7.
Okay.
Just so you guys know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it's free drinks after the meeting.
Yeah, it's
That's
the
right.
wine that didn't sell in the bar.
The expense of the new Commodore.
All I can
Yeah.
say is it's going in the right direction. That's
Yeah, the new Commodore Blake, he's a cool guy if you know him.
yeah,
He's all right.
yeah,
But I think what you're saying, just overall, in the tenor of things, new membership, the stewardship is being passed on and
Yeah.
in a nice way without
yeah,
losing a step.
yeah,
And what's nice is we're
Yeah.
mixing the new with the old,
yeah.
and that's important.
And it's, you know, it's nice to have an appreciation for some of the old farts. Too bad you didn't get a lot of the old farts. They're gone now. But like the DeMartinis, Aldo, D. Tomas, guys like that, Charlie White.
Yeah.
What's his name? He used to live up here.
The guy who
Carl
tells
Lane.
the guy who
Denzel.
tells the jokes.
Oh, Denzel.
Dave Dunzel. Yeah. No.
Oh, Donzel.
Yeah,
I've been
Donzel.
Donzel and the, who's his buddy? The guy that had the boat on D-line, E-line.
Which one you
The guy that took to the hospital.
Oh, how can you forget it? At the Monterey.
Yeah, come on, Hal.
The Comandron.
Oh, Dana?
No,
I'm gonna tell Danny
Yeah.
you said that.
I don't know who you're talking about.
yeah, he was harbor master for.
The old fart.
Yeah, and he
Oh, George
Who?
Haggett?
Haggett.
Haggett. Yeah, I know you forget.
Oh, how do you forget Haggett?
Your stories about those two.
Oh, George Haggett. Oh, there's so many stories about George. He almost sunk the.
He's something else.
He almost sunk Belvedere Lagoon there.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, he
He was in charge of the pumps.
in the gate.
He was in the maintenance of the pumps.
yeah.
He was supposed to maintain it before
The
the
level.
rains. Before the rains come, he's supposed to.
Does the
pump.
guy drink?
He drank a little bit.
Okay, I understand.
No, he just overlooked it.
Yeah, he just overlooked. He miscalculated the amount of rain coming down, so he didn't. pump
And he was
enough out.
overserved
then
at the
found
bar,
it
so
was
it's not his
flooded?
fault.
Almost. He was lucky. He came pretty close. I guess you have to pump it at low tide or at high tide. You couldn't pump or something.
Well, Alan
Sometime.
gave him the job of taking care of the
Yeah.
gates and the pumps down there.
Yeah,
And that did him in.
yeah.
That did him in, right there.
So he got paid to do a job that you had to work 4 days a
Huh?
year. He got paid to do a job
Yeah, he always took
4
care of
days
it
a year.
Yeah, yeah.
every day. Yeah.
But he was
well,
so
he had a
hard, but-
shop here too. He had his own shop.
It hit him so hard, and he was so conscientious. It was a hell of a guy. That did him in.
That really,
That
yeah.
did him in. That
Yeah.
flipped his mind, yeah.
He almost, it was at Cooper's boat.
Yeah.
He almost he sank Cooper's boat.
This is Jack.
Jack Cooper.
Yeah, cool.
Jack had a boat that never left the harbor except to go to the boatyard. You know, it was just like a condominium, like a power boat. And
Jack Cooper has some good jokes.
yeah, oh, he always has a joke.
Yeah, I like the
Every
Jack
time.
Cooper
How did he
jokes.
sink
Okay.
it? What happened?
He did some work on the exhaust, and I guess the valve, he didn't shut the valve off or something. I forget.
He tells that joke when he was
The
around.
head is below the water line, so that probably flooded in.
Well, once it gets going down,
Yeah.
everything starts
Yeah,
going down.
Exactly.
Fast.
Point of no return.
Yeah. So anyway, it's started to sink. I don't know if it sank all the way, but it sank pretty far.
Okay, Haggett leased the railroad building from the railroad company.
Right.
Oh, that's
Remember
a,
that?
oh, that's a, let me tell you a story.
You want to tell? Okay.
He went out salmon fishing with his buddy, and his buddy brought his young son along. And they're going out early in the morning, went out underneath the bridge, and this is a story from Haggett's mouth. And he said, we were going out under the gate, and everything was fine, nice day, nice and calm. And he looked at the young boy and he said, you see that rock that's right off of Point Diablo right there at the end? He says, yes. The young guy says, yes. He says, well, just take the wheel and just aim for that rock. And keep going.
He hit it.
That's what he did.
Did he
So
hit?
he kept going. Well, George, a little later on, it was a little too late, decided to go up. He was going to cook breakfast for all three of them. And he was cooking away, and all of a sudden he decided to take a look at what the boy's doing. By this time, he hit the rock. But he did exactly what Haggett said, keep your eye on that rock, just aim for that rock. Well, he hit the rock so hard, he opened planks, and he started to sink. Well, he went full speed, he made a reverse, got bad out of hell, got back of that line along the point, and there's a little beach there, and he just beached it there.
Beached it there.
And went through and towed it back in after he sealed up the leaks. And then he did this.
Then he bought, or he leased the big building that was left over from the railroad yard. And he rented it out to a couple of fellas that bought
Bernie Wells, they were doing the,
Bernie Wells. Yeah, he went around and bought furniture from the Navy.
livery ships.
Yeah, so he had a place there, and he fixed things up and cleaned them up and varnished them or whatever's necessary. And he was selling the stuff at that shop there. And then there was Joe Miller, who built the concrete boat there.
Yeah,
Remember that?
yeah.
Okay, and I remember that. And then later on, when it came time for the railroad contract or something, I guess some of the railroad people asked him, well, what are you gonna do? And, no,
Well,
you're gonna vote for the railroad or not? He says, no. So that's how he got thrown out of it.
we all got through.
Cut his own throat.
Yeah, he cut his own throat, and then he had this little shop down here at the end of the club down here.
That was Alan's building. Alan
Yeah.
gave it to him, put him in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What a dirty shop.
It was right behind the post office. And
Oh, okay.
It's a little building in there.
On Juanita?
Yeah, and it's 2-story, isn't it? I think it's 2-story. But it was a brand new building, and Alan let him move in there, I think rent free to get him going, you know. And, but I tell you, it was but after he got through moving in, it was the dirtiest, greasiest, oiliest. He had a water pump that I needed. He said, come on, John, come on, I gotta look for it, it's in the shop. So I went in, and geez, when I looked at it, well, it was just, floors were greasy and everything, and I saw the paper lit on the desk, so I grabbed the paper and I was putting paper down and he turns around and says, what the hell are you doing? You're screwing up my floor down here.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's just filthy dirty. I don't know how the hell Alan let him stay in there, you know? Anyway.
We're not on the,
We're running out of film here.
yeah, you're out of film?
Yeah.
No, we can go another 12
No,
hours.
that's all right. I
We can
just
go another
wondered-
12 hours, and I got 3 extra batteries.
No.
It's
So
12 hours.
tell us about the best cooks and waiters you ever did.
I've only done a couple myself.
Oh, well.
Yeah, only
yeah,
two?
I was chairman of the Cooks and Waiters
Yeah.
for, after Haggett. I got it from Haggett,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah?
Haggett was first, and I was working with Haggett, and I remember going someplace up in Mill Valley in the hills up there, to some big building, and it had all kinds of woodworking tools. And what we did, we had to make our own tables and sawhorses for the tables in those days, before they had setups like this.
Yeah.
Or regular seats. We had regular seats, but making the tables and the sawhorses. We did that up somewhere in Mill Valley. I remember helping them with that. And then we set up the on the alley deal on Saturdays.
What happened on Saturdays? You have lunch?
Saturdays, all the fellas that were cooks and waiters, it was free drinks. It was sort of closed for the members. It was free drinks at the bar, so you get as drunk as you want.
So the cooks and the waiters could get free drinks.
Yeah.
I've been the head waiter off and on for a number of years,
Okay.
and I get fucking nothing.
Huh?
I get nothing, and they give me well drinks.
What happens on? What do you do on Saturdays?
It's not a weekend thing anymore. We go Saturday. Friday, you got to go to the spaghetti feed, and they invite women to the spaghetti feed now.
Well, we used to have spaghetti feeds a woman had put on years ago.
Yeah, but it's like you can't talk about anything. You can't cuss.
Oh Christ! On Saturdays it was all free drinks and we made cooks and waiters. We had our lunch and everything.
And Dana every year is still there.
He took it from me.
He cooks for the women. He's just a soldier. And both of his sons are in the kitchen with him.
Well, he was a soup man.
Yeah. And you know what he said to me one night? Cooks and waiters, everyone says the soup is great. And you know what he said to me? He says, tell him I pissed in it.
Well,
That's Dana.
Saturday nights in the evenings, we had nice movies. Had some nice movies here in the
Yeah,
bar.
the, Disney, I think.
Oh, yeah,
It was the
Disney,
fucking
yeah.
Disney Channel. I've been there.
Okay. And also, this was in the boardroom. We had gambling going on. A lot of gambling.
Did you play the Texas Hold'em?
Pardon?
They're playing Texas Hold'em the last few years out here. Jeff Barnes, he's the best player.
Oh.
Come next year. We'll play some poker. I'll put $20, and I don't mind if I lose it. And if I lose my
What
house,
the
I
hell
lose
we
my
used
house.
to play before?
It was poker, if I remember.
I like straight
No,
poker
at the
better.
bar, you'd,
These
play,
guys, I like
Dice.
Texas Hold'em.
Dice.
ACDC and
Yeah, the
Yeah.
dice.
Yeah, poker dice or liar dice.
poker. Live, we played liars there.
Liar dice, different deal. Okay.
Do you recall what the fee was? What it cost you to go to Cooks and Waiters?
Cooks and waiters.
I forget what it
$10. Huh?
was. It was.
All at once?
Huh?
All at once?
Yeah. Well,
$10 was a lot of money in those days.
yeah. Well, let's see.
Years ago.
I came to the Cooks and Waiters when who's a Cooks and Waiter now, or before?
Oh, Dan
Well,
Carrico.
there's
Carrico?
Carrico.
there's
Okay,
Carrico,
Dan
and
Carrico.
then there's Hennenberger.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
I turned it over to Hamburger, and Hamburger turned it over to Carrico.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carrico set a price of, I don't know, maybe $50 or something like that,
Carrico.
right? Something like that, for the dinner. Okay, so I came down to pay my dough for the dinner, and he says it's now $55. So I said, well, fuck you, I'm going home.
I'd do
I
that
left
too.
and I haven't gone since.
Oh, really?
You know what?
Huh?
Yeah, okay.
All right? That's,
You know, Ed,
well, you know what he did?
the entertainment people are prima donnas.
Yeah, well, that's what he got. He got some guys from Hollywood that come up here, and he had to take care of the whole hotel and
Are
every
we
other
going to
goddamn
say
thing,
this
is it?
on the camera? It wasn't them.
Huh?
It wasn't that guy.
No? Okay.
Just give him the fucking $5 and get over it.
No, I was pissed off just to encounter that.
But,
I mean, you set a price and what the...
no, but they asked more and they worked him. Don't judge him for that.
Well, I thought, I'm okay with him, I get along with him.
No, he's all right. I'm just saying he wasn't trying to work you. It's
No,
like
it was
his
just what he's
cost.
done.
His
That's
cost
why I
went
didn't
up.
like it.
George, tell them about the time when we had to have bouncers here.
Mm.
We had to have 3 bouncers. Remember that? With the strippers?
I remember.
Oh, we
For
never had
cooks and
strippers.
waiters?
Hey, we never had any women in the cooks and waiters at that time. What happened is one time, I don't know who the hell it was, at Manazan or something, got some woman to come in and wash the dishes for the cooks and waiters, you know. So what we did, hey, she can't come in here. Send her home. Get her home. We'll pay her wages, and she can go.
Because there's 2 guys washing the dishes now. But they're guys.
That isn't the bouncers game.
No, that wasn't at that time.
The last one I went to, there was a stripper.
We didn't have strippers in those days.
Well, I know, this last one I went to
Oh.
was 1986 or something, a long time ago.
When the
Well,
camera's off, we're gonna talk.
Huh?
You guys need to come next year. When the camera's off, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, Jack Cooper used
My
to be
friend.
the
This is amazing.
The MC,
made a
the MC.
yeah, the
MC.
MC. He was the best one.
His jokes,
Oh yeah, they
his
were
jokes.
terrific. And one
Jack
time,
Cooper, number 1 guy.
when I was chairman, he says, I'm gonna quit. He says, well, if you don't want to do that, I quit too, because he was the only guy that I knew that was
They could do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Pull
was
it off.
great.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta give it to Carrico. He's carried this torch for about 20 years.
Yeah.
That's a long damn time.
Yeah, yeah.
The least you guys can do is show up.
No.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is this is fascinating stuff. I mean, seriously, this is very interesting.
So, but what happens to it? It gets put in the files there, and it's forgotten.
No,
No.
it's going to be edited. We're gonna put all of these together, and it will be something that we present one evening to the membership.
Well, can you go back to
I hope edited.
We'll edit, yeah.
Can you go back to the records for all the club meetings, and how far back can you go with the club meetings?
We're in the process as a committee of doing that. We're also taking the 1986 Centennial book and getting that reproduced.
Yeah, we're gonna get it reprinted.
And it's going to be something that